France going for its first gold, settles for its third silver. Let's show you some pictures. And picture Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant was the big cat in this one. He had 29 points, kept the United States in it. I mean, he's one of the great Olympians of all time when it comes to USA and men's basketball. 4th straight gold medal for USA in men's hoops, as previously mentioned, second longest streak all time. It's the 16th gold for the men overall. All other countries have won 4 combined. Kevin Durant, historic in Tokyo, reaches 100 points in his 3rd career Olympics, passes Michael Jordan and LeBron James for the most all-time. Durant also became Team USA's all-time leading Olympic scorer. He was the captain of the team. Incredible few weeks for Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. They won a title with the Bucks and now a gold medal. They're the first pair of teammates to do both of those things in the same year since Jordan and Pippen in '92.
And joining us now from Tokyo, our Brian Windhorst. And Brian, we got to start from where this team began in the Tokyo experience and where it ended. It got off to that slow start. Let's talk about the journey for Team USA.
Yeah, and, in afterwards, in the locker room area, that's what the guys were talking about. Jerry Colangelo was in tears, even though this is his 4th gold. Draymond Green, who's won 3 NBA titles and, of course, won the 2016 gold, said this was so much tougher because of the crazy chemistry, rushing to get here, rushing players over on planes the day of the first game, all of the restrictions that made it so hard. And, frankly, this was a really difficult opponent. The French have a team that creates problems for the U.S., and we saw that in this game at times, but they overcame it. And they overcame it because of Kevin Durant, who may have just had one of the great days of his career, a career filled with lots of great days. The man signed a $200 million contract this morning, and this afternoon he gets his 3rd gold medal.
Yeah, I want to talk more about Kevin Durant. What a scene it was after the victory, wrapping himself with the American flag. You've talked with him. Can you put into words what winning gold and being really the best performer for Team USA in Olympic basketball, and this is just another chapter to that?
When he committed, Linda, to doing this, it was as good of a commitment as USA basketball has ever received, because he was such a difference-making player, coming off a year where he had a short season, coming off an Achilles tendon. He didn't have to come here. He's got gold medals. He's got MVPs. He's got everything you could possibly want. He only came here because he loves playing for USA basketball, because he just loves this feeling. He loves the game, and he was out of the game for a year and a half with that Achilles injury, and he doesn't want to miss anything else. And he played, but playing at this level, 21 points in the first half of this game. I mean, this first half, the French were giving the U.S. problems, and Durant kept the team afloat. Brilliant performance, a brilliant 10 days for him, and really an unimpeachable resume at this point in his career.
Brian, besides Kevin Durant, takeaway for you about Team USA's gold medal winning performance?
They were dealt a really difficult hand. They had the most talent here, okay? But the thing about it is that their talent level was reduced because they just hadn't played together. If you went back and watched the first game they played against France from just 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't even recognize the team to now. And so while they always are going to be the favorites, the other team's continuity, I know that you hear about continuity all the time, the other teams have an advantage, but in this particular set of circumstances where there was no practice, no run-up, no opportunity to get to know each other, that was really something that they had to overcome. And they did not play great team basketball that often. It's not going to go down as one of the greatest teams that's ever been representing the U.S. here in the Olympics, but it is going to go down as one of the best medals that they've ever won because of those challenges.
And how about the remarkable women who go for the gold Saturday night against Japan? What should we be looking for in this matchup?
I'll tell you what, it's a 11:30 game here. It's 12:30, or it's at 10:30 on the East Coast. Give yourself an opportunity and take a look at them. They play so well together. They're so enjoyable to watch. And Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, 2 of the greatest Olympians we've ever seen, going for their 5th gold medals. 5th. No one in any basketball level in history, men or women, has ever won 5. They're going for 5. You get to watch Breanna Stewart play brilliantly, Brittany Griner. They are a joy to watch. And I'll say this, the Japanese make a lot of three-pointers. It's a classic upset situation we see in March Madness. They could hit 15 threes. They are playing at home.
Gold for the United States at the Olympics in Tokyo for men's basketball. France just turned it over too many times. Rudy Gobert, 16-8, but he missed 7 free throws. He was in tears when it was all over. 4th gold for the United States. France has never won the gold. They've won 2 silvers in this event. Kevin Durant, I mean, yeah, he looked like the best player on the planet. He was definitely the best player in Tokyo, and he's been the best at these Olympic games over his career. There have been 5 29-point games all time in gold medal games, and Kevin Durant now has 3 of them. Speaking of golden, look who's here. George Sedano. George, I got a little tight at the end. And you're a hoops junkie. I got to feel like you might have been uncomfortable. Why was the United States unable to put France away?
All right, so I was standing up in the green room, and I started to pace, okay? All of a sudden, Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot of the Brooklyn Nets is hitting shots. All of a sudden, Frank Ntilikina hit a 3. I'm like, he's not even a three-point shooter. Scared me a little bit, but thank you, Kevin Durant, as you mentioned, because when Damian Lillard missed those free throws, again, the heart started to race a little bit, but Durant was able to ice the game. Great job by Jason Tatum earlier in the game as well, giving him support. And they really needed that second guy, and Tatum really later in this tournament was able to kind of become that second guy to support Durant.
The second guy figured to be Booker or Lillard. Lillard especially.
Right.
Why wasn't? What happened to Lillard?
Well, it looked like Dame was heating up in that third quarter, and we were getting ready for Dame time. You know, I love me some Dame time, Neil.
Yeah.
But then those free throws, it was strange. It was like an out-of-body experience for him. But give them credit on the defensive end, Neil. Everybody talks offense. Nobody talks defense. Defensively, whether it was Bam Adebayo, whether it was Kevin Durant with a block, whether it was Draymond Green, they were able to lock down on that end.
Set the defensive presence right off the bat. The first possession for France, shot clock violation.
Right.
All right. What did you really learn from these Olympics? So, I mean, it's just a one-off. It's for the gold. Is there a bigger picture here that we need to talk about?
Okay, clearly the world is catching up, right? So because of that, we need to treat this with a little more respect as far as the process is concerned.
The process? It's always about the process.
Not that Philly process. Not that process. Different kind of process. Now, if you remember back in 2008 in Beijing, after the previous embarrassment in 2004 when they won the bronze medal, that team committed for 2 years to compete in those 2008 Olympics. That was Kobe Bryant, Jason Kidd, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that we've kind of gotten away from that. I understand these guys have a lot of stuff going on outside of basketball. Sometimes injuries play a factor, but I do think we need to throw these teams together with a little time to create some cohesiveness.
And how do you go about doing that?
I just think that the commitment needs to be longer than just several weeks or several months.
All right. Speaking of a commitment, Kevin Durant getting ready to sign a $198 million extension with the Brooklyn Nets. That'll be sometime after Saturday, but in the near future. I don't know how many days it is until the tip-off. You probably do. Is it too early to talk about the Nets being the prohibitive favorite to win it all next year?
Well, it's approximately 10 weeks, not that I'm counting. But listen, $198 million, man. You know, that's a nice chunk of change to go to. But they are the prohibitive favorite. It's basically them and the Lakers right now. And depending on which sports book you go to, you know, if you're into that kind of stuff, my guess is that Brooklyn will be the favorite at least going into this thing, barring health. And we saw last season was catastrophic from a health perspective. As far as all-star caliber players, those guys missed almost 20% of their games, the most that we've seen in NBA history. So I think that we're going to get back on a more regular schedule. I think those guys from Brooklyn will get their rest. Clearly, the Lakers will get their rest. And in theory, we'll get that collision course. But, yeah, I'm thinking Brooklyn at least the early favorite at the moment.
I think Patty Mills, huge pickup for Brooklyn as well.
No doubt. I mean, you're talking about a champion in Patty Mills and a guy with tons of experience, for sure.
Starting to manifest itself there with Team USA.
Well, look, Michael, they've got challenges for sure. I mean, 3 of their players, including Drew Holiday, who was the best player in the fourth quarter of this game, arrived less than 24 hours before the start of the game. And obviously, they've only had about 10 practices. But having said that,